Ladies and gentlemen, Big Terror News.
Hey, kia ora koutou, e te whānau, welcome back to another edition of a Big Hairy News. Kia ora Chewy.
Kia ora Pat, turning off
Hey,
my
you-
phone notifications.
How you doing?
Do you know what they call that? Growth, professionalism. I can't be stopped. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. End of a very long week. I got jammed up at work and I could not go and yell at Christopher Luxon with his little journey to Dunedin today. Thankfully, others managed it.
Nice. You might notice, there it is, up there. There's a little QR code. Little QR
What's
code?
the QR duck?
It's a QR code. Today, opening today, how many people are watching right now? 220 people are watching right now. Opening
I see what you've
today
done.
is the Podcast Award Listeners' Choice Award. So everyone who's watching now, there's 220 of you, 222 right now, 224, it's going up, 242. That was a big jump. Click on that, go in there, put in the podcast name, your email address, link to the podcast. Now, I'm not sure how you link to the podcast. Probably just put the YouTube channel. Or you can probably put bhn.nz, which is our website, and a comment about how amazing we are. You don't do the comment. Up there. See?
Just send the comment to us.
Podcast awards are open. You'll probably get sick of that little QR code over the next 4 weeks, I'm thinking. But, we've sort of jerry-rigged it 2 years in a row by doing this, and we've got into the listener's choice 2 years in a row, so why would we stop? Did you have a good night last night, Chewy? You and Pink Pat?
Yes. Barely controlled chaos was
It
great.
was chaos. I was watching for the first 40 minutes. Absolute chaos. Yeah, I kept an eye on you guys. I saw what was going on. What did M say? I tweeted her or texted her about it today. I had a new word. Oh, sloppy pancake man. I quite enjoyed sloppy pancake man.
Sloppy Pancake Man is good.
Sloppy Pancake Man's coming back tonight, and we're going to do a bit of a deep dive. This is going to be one of those shows with Sloppy Pancake Man that two things can be true. One is it can be a really interesting conversation around regulating the internet, and two, the person who is at the forefront of having that done, the first case, can play the biggest victim card in the world. Oh my God, what a drama queen. Holy crap.
It's about free speech.
Oh my God.
First they came for Sean Plunkett,
Oh my
and I did not speak out because fuck that guy. And then they didn't come for me because I'm not a fucking asshole to people.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it.
Now, did you announce Barbara Edmonds last night? I texted you guys. Did you do it or did you not?
Right at the end, yes, we did.
Okay. So Barb's not here today because of the passing of Jim Bolger. Labor has quite a big policy release. This is going to be the first policy of the 12-month into the election. It was going to be released today. It is now being postponed, and because of what happened with the passing of Jim Bolger. I was speaking to one of their press people today, and they said, so we got called into the House. So obviously when a prominent politician dies, there's a protocol that happens in the House and everyone has to attend. It sounds a bit like, you have to go to your principal's funeral sort of thing. One of those sorts of vibes. So no Barb tonight, but she will be joining us. We were thinking Monday, but Craig Rennie told me today that there's CPI numbers out on Monday, and maybe that will take precedence. So maybe Tuesday. So just to let you know, it's actually the start of the Labour Party policy being released for next year's election. And we're above that. Here's something else to show you. Oh, no, I won't show you there. I'll show you somewhere else. Can we say a big thanks, a huge thanks to all of our patrons. We love you guys to bits. If you are a patron, you would already have seen this post as I pad whilst I share the screen, which I haven't done yet because both Chewy and I were here 30 seconds before the start of the show. Smooth. What do we think? Whānau, they're here. The enamel pins have arrived. Well, five out of 6 of them have arrived. The 6th one is a Nicky No Boats. There was a problem with the printing, so I refused it, and they're remaking them all. So right now, in my hot little hand, I might have to go full screen, Chewy. Sorry, I don't mean to take it all on. Let's just do this. In my little hot little hand, look. Fuck around.
Oh, you've just given me a good idea, man. That should be a ring, like a big bling ring.
How about that one, Chewy? I'm trying to make sure that the camera...
That's the best one. You've got the shade of my beard as it was a couple of years ago really well.
Yeah. Here we go. I'm trying to get it so it zooms on that. There we go. Tax work less.
Perfect.
Sorry. Look, every single one of them, 600 pins I've got, all of them in their own little bubble bag. It's outrageous. Here we go. How about the OG?
Just the classics.
Just the classic. And then there's one more, which is over here. Oh, how could I forget? Leave it till last. It's left till last. Here it comes. You're still there, Chewy? You haven't run off to go to the bathroom or something? Oh.
Yeah.
This is the OG Emily design. Emily designed this for our 500th episode. And this is where the whole relationship with Ems and product and t-shirts and merch and all that stuff all kind of came together. So
Brother Monk,
yes,
don't eat them. They're not for eating, they're for keeping, for specials.
So the reason I was saying thanks to our patrons is patrons got a bit of an early sneak advance there. There you go. And I think I saw Magenta say on Blue Sky how good they look against the green buffer. Maybe there's a pack going out there. The other thing is, of course, probably next week we will then have them on our store. BigHairyNews.nz. Go to the shop. We're still selling our merch. There's still orders coming in for it, and we will have enamels up there some stage next week. I just got to figure out exactly how we're going to do it and what would be a fair price. I was thinking $125 each, Joey. Does that feel about right to you? You buy them?
Yeah, no, that's spot on. Cost of living.
Give or take, cost of living. Craig Rennie's just dropped a podcast today, like just in the last hour and a half, 2.5 hours, on the cost of living. After you've watched this, you should go and check that out. Sorry.
Speaking of cost of living, and just so we tangent straight out of the gates, my colleague, who we have a lot of political discussions, and he's not as far to the left. He's very much like, let's give everybody a chance. But he's becoming slowly radicalised as I worked with him. We're talking about how Christopher Luxon was in town, and he had such an outburst because his favourite kebab shop went out of business this week.
Oh.
Dunedin's Anatolia Kebabs. It's his favourite kebab shop.
Oh.
And he's just like, they went out of business because the economy's bad. This government has made the economy bad. Christopher Luxon has killed my kebab shop. I'm furious.
The podcast that Craig did this afternoon, we recorded it this afternoon and uploaded it a bit later than normal. It was sort of like dinner time-ish. He's got 12 graphs showing the minimum wage and showing up to including things like the cost of white bread, minimum wage, the cost of gas, minimum wage, cost of petrol. It's just, it's unreal. But look, one other thing before we start, because there's now 468 people watching up above us there. Click on the Q. And if you're watching on a phone, so you don't want to kind of screenshot, it's, what is it? It's NZ, just the initials, nzpodcastawards.com/nominate. So it's either that or it's nzpodcastawards.com/nominate. Now we are going to have a problem, and I'm going to have to probably take that down because I feel like when we do this, it's going to obscure. Shall we see? Oh, no, that doesn't obscure.
That's
Okay.
perfect. It's
For
perfect.
two of us, that's okay. For two of us, that's okay. Okay, so tonight on the show, I know that you guys kind of touched on it last night. This is where you were talking. Ems actually said he is my favourite person ever. I don't know how I felt about that, but it's a really interesting conversation if you can get past all the shrieking and pearl clutching. And it kind of reminds me, Chewy, like I got my EV literally the day that road user charges started. It kind of feels a bit like that when the EV market started, at some stage, it was going to have to be regulated and sorted out by the government what they do for road user charges. It feels ridiculous that a law made in 1989 has not at some stage had a look at what is on the internet. Now, the reason, and we'll keep our powder dry a little bit, but the reason Plunkett's nervous about it, because generally people on the right want free speech so they can yell the N-word. People on the left want free speech so we can have honest and deep conversations without fear of repercussion. Honestly, that's the difference. People on the right want free speech so they can use the N-word or the F word or the Q word or the J word. I'm not thinking of words, I'm just doing letters now. Or the QR word or whatever. So I don't care about broadcasting standards because I don't think we're ever going to be in an issue with it. Because we don't lie, right? That's a pretty big one. We don't defame. We're always very careful with how we word things. If we're not sure, we make sure you know it's opinion. So it's like, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference to a reputable broadcaster whether the BSA is active or not, because you're a reputable broadcaster. Sorry, Joey.
Hey, I was going to say, I was talking about this with a friend, and he goes, well, are you worried about this sort of stuff? And I was like, no, because like if we defamed someone or slandered someone, that's already covered under law. It doesn't matter whether it's a broadcast or not.
Yeah.
You know, that's already a legal thing, just the same as if I incited a riot one day. But yeah, I think if we did some of the stuff that Oliver has done on the platform, like call up someone and dump them live on air, he's been a journalist. He knows it's not ethical. He knows that if he did that on a more traditional media outlet, he would get BSA complaints. Or, broadcasting standards. Yeah, there's BSA. BSA complaints by the dozen. And he's crowed about that of like, oh, make a complaint, I'm not covered. Yeah. And that's the thing. He's protesting so much because he knows he's fucked. Yeah,
totally. So we'll look in a bit more detail into that. We won't do it now, or else we'll do it in detail twice, which is even a bit much for me, believe it or not. Also, Jim Bolger passing away today. We're not really going to focus heaps on it, but we are going to use some of the footage this morning from Kieran and the Bish on Breakfast, and they talked a little bit about it.
And the Bish.
It's the best breakfast radio show you'll ever see. And so we'll have a bit of a look at that there, along with also pointing out to this current government how far away they've moved from Jim Bolger, who was somewhat responsible for treaty settlements and what we're looking at now. Shall I give you a hint as to what we're looking at now? I started writing them down because of the Marine and Coastal Area Amendment Act, which we're going to look at. Right, getting rid of that. Treaty principles, regulatory standards, Māori wards, Māori Health Authority, English First Government Departments, road signs, Te Reo translators at Parliament. What else do you want to put in there that this government has done to minimise and to disappear Māori and Māori influence? Te Reo in schools, goes on and on and on. And Jim Bolger could not be further away from who this national government is. And I think that's why you see many on the left who have been in government for a long time would do a respect thing. They respect him and respect his position. But I think also what you do see, is you see people going, it was a different time. And actually he would probably be in a centrist centre-left party today based on where his politics were, based on where the current nightmare of the government's policies are. So we'll have a look at that. And also apparently Simeon Brown, gotta keep a straight face, thinks doctors are unethical. I saw a tweet today that said something basically along the lines of, I know who adds more to society. Enough said. Enough said. There's one other thing I wanted to share with us, and it's a bit more lighthearted, too, but it's a good way to start the show. I'll do the lighthearted at the start. You can do it at the end. Have you heard the hubbub around this photo of Mr. Trump?
Oh, yes.
So Time magazine featured Mr. Trump, and this was the photo of Mr. Trump. And I've seen a breakdown from a professional photographer that says one of the things you do with people is if you photograph them from below, it gives them a position of power, like we are under them, all these sorts of things. And then this professional photographer went, but you can also use it against people, and then just kind of left it there. Now, the world is talking about this part of Donald Trump. This part here.
The Nikusi.
Or the Nussi. Yeah, they're calling it the Nussi. Which stands for the neck kitty cat. Now, this was Governor Newsom's. This was Governor Newsom's, and when this first went on Twitter, this got an automatic Twitter grey block over it saying there potentially is offensive material in this tweet. Do you want to see it? So Gavin Newsom's blurred Nussi message tweet got blocked. Donald Trump responded like this: Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair, good one, and they had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. So what he's saying is, if you're going to give me a crown, it better be a fucking big one. You gave me a small one. Really weird. I never like taking pictures from underneath angles. But this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. And the internet has gone mad on it, calling it the Nussi. And I'll just give you an example. I know what's going to happen here. It's going to ask me I'm going to push play, and it's going to ask me to do the whole scrolly thing. So bear with me. Listen to the words while I have to re-log in every single time.
Baby, the president's got his Nussi out on the cover of Time magazine. Look at that thing. You've heard of a moose knuckle? Meet a moose neckle. All right? Old boy's got a camel throat. What do you even call that? An Eve's apple? Got me out here wanting to commit an original sin, let me tell you. Who told this man it was acceptable to go chinny dipping on the cover of a major American publication? Apparently, Lord Voldemort over here, old comb over Caligula, not such a big fan of this portrait. I don't see why. This is just a view Mike Johnson has every single day as he waits for J.D. Vance to wipe his chin, signifying the end of his turn. Me personally, I view this waddle as a win over puritanical values in the United States. Wasn't that long ago, the entire country was in an uproar over Janet Jackson's pasty-covered wardrobe malfunction. And now look at us, huh? We got the leader of the free world popping his bushless Nussi on the cover of Time magazine.
Anyway, it's pretty hilarious. It's pretty hilarious. The Nussi is the term, and I'm guessing Mr. Trump will not be a fan of that Chewy, as he's not really a fan of anything. Let's get to a couple of messages, and then we'll get into the show proper. We might even start with Wee Simeon. Citizen Gold says 429 days at most, just saying. Arvids has sent 3 messages. Also, F. Simeon, I'm as mad as the Chewy pin. The cost of the cock crisis killed a kebab shop. And Nick Tussie Gate. So have you heard Nick Tussie? Because in America they seem to be calling it the Nussi.
No, Nussi's fine.
Nussi's fine?
It's perfectly serviceable. I think Nikusi
No,
has a little bit more.
Serviceable is the wrong word.
A little bit more je ne sais quoi.
Okay, well, look, let's get into it, shall we? Thanks for being with us tonight, and thank you in advance for the people who are going to jump out there and nominate Big Hairy News or BHN. I'm sure that'll all be fine. And other than that, this goes on for a month, by the way, of nominating your listeners.
So we're going to get real annoying on it.
We entered 5 categories. We entered Big Hairy News. We entered Locked Out with Craig Rennie. We entered Dr. Gary Payenda. Very good podcast coming out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Dr. Gary Payenda. We entered the network or publisher because we thought we're a publisher. We do 3 of them now, so let's enter that, see if we can get there ahead of Rover or Stuff or somewhere else. And we entered best interview. And as the best interview, we put in a 15-minute chunk of that conversation we had with Rawiri and Debbie, like we were all drunk sitting in a bar just talking, that one. And yes, that's a month away, and you never expect anything of these sorts of things, but we'll give it a crack, see what happens. Okay, team, let's have a look at wee Simeon. Nurses and doctors, they're kind of the service industry. They're about looking after people, you know what I'm saying? To get them to boo, I think is a pretty impressive statement. I guess I will say, to his credit, unlike other ministers of the Crown, he went along to a conference full of nurses and doctors, maybe to his credit, or maybe that just shows how arrogant he actually is and believes his shit don't stink. Apparently doctors, nurses, for striking for 4 hours makes them unethical. They're crossing an ethical line.
To the day's other news now, and Health Minister Simeon Brown has urged senior doctors not to take part in next week's mega strike, saying it crosses an ethical line. But their union says striking is the only way to get the government's attention as they try to care for patients in an overstretched health system. Senior political reporter Brie Elliott has the story.
Health Minister Simeon Brown facing off with senior doctors at their annual conference over their decision to strike next week.
But when a union chooses strike action that forces thousands of operations and appointments to be cancelled, in my view, it crosses an ethical line.
Prompting laughs on his assessment of the health system.
The union strike action is coming at a time when progress is being made, when our health system is finally turning a corner, but also during the time...
And on pay.
That's devastating. Savage. That is devastating. I wonder if these ministers, you get those people who are surrounded by other echo chamber yes men. I wonder if he actually believes that. Like, I wonder if he thinks what he's saying is accurate and true. That's almost scarier than someone who's just getting up and knowing what they're saying is bullshit. I wonder what wee Simeon actually thinks. Like, it would be really interesting if that was an interview to go, point of order, sir, explain to us the progress that's being made. Give us half a dozen examples and see what he comes with. But no, he someone in the chat, look at his face. Yep, he wasn't quite expecting that to happen.
During the time...
And on pay.
Average total remuneration for a senior doctor is $343,505, including overtime and allowances, and this does not include any remuneration from private practice.
A joke from the crowd about the flow of Kiwi doctors across the ditch.
Can you confirm that the New Zealand government will continue to invest significant public funds to pay for the training of New Zealand doctors so that they may leave New Zealand and supplement our medical skills in our Australian hospitals?
Before Brown put jokes aside with a challenge for their union.
Stop playing politics with patients' lives and let's actually resolve these issues. And the first action they could do to show that they're willing to do that is to call off next week's strike.
More than 100,000 teachers and healthcare workers are due to walk off the job next Thursday as part of a mega strike. Health New Zealand says it will postpone 900 procedures. And
hang on. Simeon said thousands.
Simeon also said they were putting their lives at risk.
I think
so
Simeon
I
also
assume that they were going to put 900,000 people in a boat and push it out into the islands.
Simeon also said he's 6'2". I don't know if I can believe any of these things he's saying. No, but Simeon said in that last thing, I'm not going to scroll, he said thousands. Health New Zealand, te whata ora, please, is saying 900. Come on, party of numbers, party of business. That's how they're going to come back and say the ferries cost less because they're going to cost $6 billion and they're going to say it's $2 billion because they're that far off every time as a proportion of the truth versus what they say.
nearly 1,400 first specialist appointments. But this Palmerston North emergency consultant says ethical dilemmas are a daily reality.
Ethical line is explored every single day, and people are denied care every single day. A strike is just one day where we bring it to everybody else's attention.
Documents from Health New Zealand show strike days do have a big impact. The September strike saw 1,400 fewer admissions and 3,000 fewer follow-ups each day.
But senior doctors say they do not take the decision lightly.
We've taken strike action because we really believe the health system's in peril.
Striking because they say it's their last resort.
And then there's that question that we will always come back to, which is quite simply the understaffing of our hospitals. Does that put more lives at risk than a 4-hour strike? So 364 days and 20 hours, does that understaffing across all of that put lives more at risk than understaffing, overworked, exhausted medical staff? I would suggest yes, Mr. Who's Playing Politics Now. Shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I am blown away that he tried that average remuneration line in the room with them.
Yep.
Like, I think he's lucky that it was laughter and not cutlery coming his way. Like, damn.
I did. Sorry, go, bro.
I'm just stunned that like with all of these strike actions, Judith Collins done it, Simeon Brown's done it, that they're just sticking to this line of like, if we tell New Zealanders that they get far more money than you guys do, then that will make them angry with them.
Yeah.
When I think that your average New Zealander is going to go, "Yeah, doctor makes more money than me." Yeah, that makes sense.
And that probably speaks to, as stupid as he wasn't speaking to the people in the room. He was speaking to the cameras who were going to put it into the living rooms of New Zealand. What he wasn't expecting was what he was saying to the cameras to be made look ridiculous by senior doctors laughing. He didn't have that as a part of his equation. He's going to go, they're not going to like what I'm saying, but the people at home will get the message. He didn't go, they're going to like what I'm saying and they're going to ruin my message by laughing in my face, killing any kind of impact I'm going to have on those people in their living room. So he didn't account for that.
I think it's also very, very brave. Brave wee Simeon charging into battle with his wooden shield and his little wooden sword. Saying how doctors aren't ethical.
Yeah.
When we know that that's a big part of their job, but not only that, it's a big part of their training. They study ethics. They can produce grades on them passing their medical ethics course. Should we ask to see if Simeon Brown has a similar qualification on ethics? Is it a I'll show you yours if you'll show me mine thing?
So the doctors are saying they can prove they're professionally ethical, documented.
Rated.
Yeah.
Rated.
Yeah.
Analysed.
Yeah.
Peer-reviewed, ethical.
When you just said grabbing his wooden shield, it just made me think of this.
It's adorable, isn't it? It's adorable. It's the same. Where'd you get this picture of Simeon?
Yeah. Simeon with a shield, like a South Park character. There's probably a way of doing that. And he's this big. You know the joke they always make on 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown when they're making product and stuff for people, and John... what's his surname? John. I was going to say John Oliver. No, the comedian John. He's very short. They always deliver him a little tiny version of the thing they give to everybody else. So you could do the same with Simeon. Yeah, look, I do like thinking about John Richardson. Thank you, Solar's Cream. I do like to think about how did that message get to the podium? Like, where did it come from? How was it decided? What were they thinking when they mentioned those two things? Interesting that the 3 News report, I was going to play one, but that was the 3, I think, didn't have the booing. The 1 News had the booing when he said it, but 3 News cut that out. So that's interesting.
Why would you cut that?
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting editorial decision. But I'd like to understand like to speak to the people who made that decision. How did this speech then get to the podium? Not saying that they shouldn't have used it, but what was the rationale? What were you thinking? Because, yeah, not smart. Not smart, didn't work. So whatever your plan, unless your plan was to be humiliated and look like a fool, okay, fair, that worked. But if it was anything other than that, didn't work.
Great success. Yeah, so this mega strike's what, next Thursday next week?
I think it's Thursday, yeah.
100,000 people taking strike action. There's never been something like this in my lifetime.
Yeah, we're talking to Fleur Fitzsimons. Yes, right, Fitzsimons when you were away, I think. Were you back for that? Anyway, about the upcoming mega strike, it was like, I don't think we've ever had a general strike. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We can't. Legally,
because of the police.
There was one, I think 1979 was the last one. Right. And then they changed the law that basically is, you know how like a union would go on strike and then another union would have a sympathy strike? Yeah. So you might have the wharfies and then the freezing workers and then the railway union, you know, and it just spirals from there. It just absolutely shuts everything down. So they actually changed the law that you can't sympathy strike. You can only legally strike if it's part of your pay negotiation. So they took away the ability for a general strike. And it has taken this government half of their term, a little over half of their term, to piss off so many people that they've gone, well, we're going to have a bunch of different independent strikes all on the same day. That's how we're going to get around it.
Yep. And so what Fleur was saying is, I mean, without making it as black and white as it sounds, but this is about as close to a general strike as we'll ever see. So, yeah. Pretty cool. I mean, not cool because they have to, but pretty cool that they're able to organise it.
It'd be great if they didn't have to. Yeah. But, I mean, in all the discussions, like we've seen Luxon come out, he clearly doesn't understand how unions go, how they work. Like he was talking about, he's getting his knickers all in a twist because the teachers' union clearly didn't take the time to present the latest pay offer that was presented at the last minute to their members, and so clearly the members didn't have a chance to vote on it. The little thing that came out about that afterwards is the offer that they were presented was worse than one that they had already rejected. So why would the union take it to its members when its members have already said, no, it's not good enough?
I mean, you can think about it like from a different perspective. I want to buy Chewy's house and I offer Chewy $600K for his house and they decline that. And then I go, okay, let's offer him $550. Like, it's like, we're just not going to present it.
Jump. Again, party of numbers. You know, it's a negotiation. Big business daddy should know how to do big business negotiations. That's what he's doing. You are trying to keep the workforce going and you're doing an offer that's not good enough. Like, it takes a lot for senior doctors to go on strike. Again, I can't really remember the last time that that's happened. And it's come out of real concern. The government wants to make it about money. Mm-hmm. It's the only thing that they mention. You know, here's how much the doctors and nurses and the teachers are paid. Yeah. Whereas you talk to any of these teachers and nurses and doctors, and they will tell you, no, pay is one part of it, but it is paying conditions. We are concerned about safety. We are concerned about the longevity of the public health system.
100%. In the chat, based on what was said to Simeon in that meeting, Peter says Simeon needs to invest in a new burn unit.
Oh!
Ouch.
No staff though, so
self-service, like just full of vendors that you can go and put your money in, and then just
a big bottle of burn cream.
A big
in an
swimming
empty
pool
room.
full of it. He just done swimming for a while. Oh, that's a bad sound. Oh, that's a really bad sound. Kiwi Bird, speaking of the cost and the danger to patients, going to Australia is worse than a mega strike when it comes to keeping our patients safe. I think that is true. And also, Kiwi Bird, those doctors sent Simeon to the burn ward. Oh, there's a theme. There's a theme, wee Simeon. People think you got burned. Yeah. Anything else on that one?
No, I'm really interested to see this strike, eh?
Yeah.
I want to see how this plays out. I haven't seen, like, in all these walk and talks that the media outlets are doing, all these interviews with salt of the earth types in the street. Has there been anyone really swallowing the line of, like, teachers are greedy, nurses are greedy, doctors?
Oh, have they said
greedy?
nurses?
I
Have they
haven't
said
seen-
teachers? They have said teachers. Is that the 120,000? No, nurses were as 120,000. I don't know if they've done that with teachers yet. Have they done that with teachers? I'm not sure. I don't know if they have.
Well, they're striking as they're part of it, right?
Everything. Everyone's a part of it.
Everything.
Because, like you
Fire.
said, so here's the thing, right? Legally, they can only strike if they've got a case to put forward. And the reason we're having a mega strike is under this government, so many of them have a case to put forward. So therefore, ipso facto, mega strike. Yeah. So, I've just noticed for the first time ever, we get messages on Discord. How about that? That's pretty cool, eh? There's one from the 17th
Are you
of
on Discord?
17th
Are you
of
one of the cool
December.
kids on Discord?
There's one from the 17th of December, 2024. From someone
Good job.
representing
All
Rod
over
Carr.
that.
Yep. There's one from the 6th of May for a shout out that we did to Andy C. And there was one from the 11th of September about testing the Discord chat thing. I don't know what that means, but there you go. Who knew? Who knew? I think we're gonna get into sloppy pancake batter because I am looking forward to this chat. No, it's good. This is going to be good, bruv. Hang on, let me get out my 6 pages of notes for everything we're going to go through here. No, look, in all seriousness, this is a really interesting conversation. 2 things can be true at the same time. Kieran Plunkett can be the biggest drama queen, he thinks he is the most important person in all of broadcasting. If you haven't seen or heard it yet, I'm going to play you something tonight where he's trying to make the BSA a deal because he thinks he's going to take the BSA apart. So he offers them on his broadcast.
Had to run stuff past him.
He offers them a deal to make it all go away. Like, this is going to be trouble for you, BSA. It is adorable. And it's just, and that can be true, that he is the biggest drama queen. And this is more true, the biggest victim, the biggest snowflake the world has ever seen, right? That can be true. And this conversation around the BSA regulating the internet is really interesting and could be quite worrying for some people. Both of those things can be true. So let's have a look. As soon as I saw this yesterday, I saw the clip of him talking about it. He leaked it the day before. Oh, it's a big thing. The fight's coming tomorrow. The fight's coming. And then he did it. I'm like, oh, okay. And straight away, my first reaction was, this will earn him money and will help his grift. He is able to paint himself now as the one outsider. I'm going to play you some conversation between Mike Hosking and the CEO of BSA. Everything she says just dismantles any of his conspiracy theorists. It's so funny that he always talks about rabbit hole radio and cookers and stuff, the words he uses, and the amount of conspiracy theory he has around why they are attacking him, the self-grandiosing, the self-importance he puts in himself, that the state wants to take him down. And when I play you the comments from the CEO, she's like, well, we got a complaint. And when we get a complaint, we have to action it. That's it. And she's like, and because we'd never done it on the internet, it's a bit of a test case. Hoskins even goes something like, it's a bit of a reach, isn't it? And she goes, maybe. It's real chill. Like everything, he's like, they're coming for me, they're coming for you. She's just like, no, we just want to see if this is a thing or not. And we got a complaint, and so we're having a look. Like real low key. But anyway, speaking of the grift, here's one. Join our fight for freedom. Fuck me, $5,000 deal for the Platinum Project in 2000. So that started straight away, and it will, because it's a bit like Reality Check Radio. They went around a lot of the farmers, and they had a target, I think, of $5 million. And my understanding is they got most of it. And how they got it, I know people that were at some of the meetings, not because they were going to be participants, but they were friends of someone's house that they were going to use. And so they went along, and this person reckons they hit their $5 million mark to start that thing off. And they did it through fear. And, like, they're coming for you. This is it. It's a tantalizing message to get behind someone, even if it's horse shit. I'm going to play for you. This is the first conversation he did, which was 17 and a half minutes on the platform. I just want to play for you the self-importance of the man. This is less than a minute. This man thinks he is New Zealand's Martin Luther King, right? Have a listen.
I think the Broadcasting Standards Authority is a joke. I think what it's done is appalling and Orwellian. I am going to OIA every single piece of communication within the Broadcasting Standards Authority about me and the platform. And I can guarantee you they're going to say, we can't tell you what legal opinions we got because that's legally privileged, not good enough. I'm going to go to political parties and politicians. I'm going to tell them to stop the...
I'm going to tell on you. Why are you being so mean to me? I'm going to tell on you.
Broadcasting Standards Authority. And I will not comply. The platform will not comply. And
it does have a bit of sovereign citizen feel to it, doesn't it? A little bit?
A little bit. No contract.
If that means the end of the
BSA.
platform, I would rather die on...
This is the best line. You ready for this? You'll like this, Joe.
The platform will not comply. And if that means the end of the platform, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees.
Oh, for fuck's
to bureaucrats
sake,
who would censor not just me, not just the other hosts, not just our guests, but you as well.
This is our Independence Day.
I would rather die on my knee. Right, Family Foundation. Pretty funny.
Oh,
right.
what a grandiose twat.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Largest drama queen in the world. And the subject matter of what he's talking about still be an interesting conversation to have.
Look,
I have to play that.
It's going to be interesting. 100%. Like, I think it's a valid test case. Like, what makes us, what we do here at BHN, any different because it's through YouTube, or if we were sending it out over the airwaves on a frequency or something like that? Nothing.
Well,
it makes no sense.
This is the conversation, and we get into this with the Mike Hosking bits, as part of it is about the appearance of a radio station. Like, because you could then go, okay, so we are a new friend of the show, Brie Elliott. What about what she does? Anyone on TikTok that does political commentary. So that's why it's an interesting conversation to be had.
100%.
And I honestly don't think that the BSA will or can regulate the internet, because if they did it, they'd have to do it in a way. It's kind of an all or nothing, and they can't do all. So I think this will kind of go nowhere, but it's still an interesting conversation. And the reason it's happening to Plunkett is he's the test case because he got a complaint. It's as simple as that. Let's go and have a look now, because he also talked to the Free Speech Union. This is going to be a thumbnail, by the way, this particular freeze frame. I've already done it because it's beautiful.
It's like he's jammed his balls under the toilet seat when he sat down. That's the face.
So the Free Speech Union are trying to turn Sean Plunkett into a martyr.
Well, it was to to give a picture to our audience and to bring the narrative to life, which is essentially, this is an extraordinary move by the BSA to try and claim jurisdiction over online podcasts, online media, etc. And they're coming after you probably because of your history, probably because you're controversial. But
they're after you because you've been mean to them. We're going to make you our poster child martyr.
We all know that it starts with one person and it starts with you. And if they get this jurisdiction, I don't see where it ends. It really
the problem to me is, Ghislaine, they haven't actually formally redefined what a broadcaster is. They've just said, oh, we got a complaint about this guy. Could we make him a broadcaster? Let's do it.
Yeah, that's not true. And we'll show you that when the head of the BSA actually talks to Mike Hosking. And as you see, someone freaked out and said, look at the number of clips I've got up. And they're all little short ones just to go through. And the next part of this conversation with the Free Speech Union, and I'm showing you this as well because we're going to rebut this with the person from the BSA, is they were talking about the merits of the complaint. Like, they're basically going, this shouldn't even be a complaint. Whereas the BSA is going to tell you they don't have they're not allowed to ignore a complaint. It doesn't matter how frivolous it is. They have to action them. So it's actually not that they're going after Plunkett with a terrible, like this is it's frivolous. It's not warranting anything. It's like they first have to investigate. They have to. That's what's in the legislation around what they do. So this is talking about the merits of the complaint.
With you. And the second is, I'm like, let's even have a look at the merits of the complaint that they're basing this on. One person says that they don't like, what you say. I might disagree with you about cultural practices, but I'll defend your right to call anything mumbo jumbo in this world, macroeconomics, Catholicism, the
only time
equality for the blacks, little things off the top of my head which don't mean anything. That's a joke, by the way. No legal action, please. I'm just taking the piss. Using an extreme example that obviously would not fit with you one iota.
I've ever fallen foul of them. Well, I didn't. My employer did. Radio Live. Or was it Mad? It was Radio Live. They spent 8 months.
He's losing his mind. He got fired from Magic.
And took unprecedented steps to consult outside the BSA to find academics who would essentially call me a racist.
Which does sound like a waste of money, because all you need to do is go and have a look at the platform's playlist. That's a pretty easy way to find an answer to that question, be it true or not, Mr. Plunkett. I'm not commenting on it. I'm just saying they'd find an answer in there without spending heaps on lawyers. Come on, mouse, push play.
And at that time, that decision caused deep concern amongst many journalists in that it seemed to be a witch hunt.
So again, I am the victim. It's a witch hunt. It's always about them. I'm being picked on. They're picking on me. They're coming after you, Sean Plunkett, says the Free Speech Union, because you've been critical of them. It's always, why are you picking on me? This is about, this is not fair. Without saying this is not fair, because that would show an amount of weakness. It's every other word that means that. And he is the ultimate snowflake victim here. I'm going to play the offer in a minute, Chewy, because he makes them an offer. But before I do that, anything else?
One parallel springs to mind, Pat. There was once a guy that was persecuted. Maybe you've heard of him. Jesus Christ. Maybe there's a lot of parallels between JC and SP.
But I just think that if SP travelled in the same regions, literally, that JC is said to have travelled in, he might be on the wrong side of the wall for a portion of that, not like it that much. So, But he went to Israel,
nailing this guy.
And he saw it for himself.
We're nailing this guy to a tree for saying, be nice to your neighbours and love one another. And we're nailing this guy to a tree because he's a cunt. We are not the same.
I want to make it very clear that tonight's commentary is mostly good-natured ribbing and mostly sarcastic comedy than anything accurate, in case anyone's lawyers happen to be watching. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, look, I just want to say that my one and only mission here tonight, and this is where Pat gets worried because I'm going to say that I'm on a mission. Mr. Sean Plunkett is perfectly happy to mention you, Pat Britton. I don't think my name has ever crossed his lips. I'm not working hard enough.
I found another one the other day because I heard them banging on about free speech. Look at if you ever want to have anything to throw back at these guys or their supporters, just look up Halal Kiwi. Remember with Halal Kiwi, all of a sudden Halal Kiwi's online presence should be regulated by the government. He literally said it because Halal Kiwi was pointing out businesses that people should not support because they were Zionist. And Plunkett actually said, the government should regulate this. Free speech, apparently. Free speech for me, but not for thee. So if everyone, and I looked it up because I wanted to find it. And he said in that one, he looks a bit like that guy, Pat Britton. So sorry, Chewy. I'll text him later on and say, could he mention your name first in his rebuttal?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's have a look at this. And look, see, while you're all here, Plunkett supporters, up there's a QR code. You can just go on that and go and nominate for us for the...
Do a rage vote.
Yeah, for a rage vote for the New Zealand Podcast Awards. This is the offer. And this is this man, the ego he has. Like, honestly... I'll just play it. But he is trying to cut a deal so as to not have to go up against the BSA, saying he's doing them a favour. It's unreal.
I'm going to make an offer. Can we mark the time code on this? I'm going to make a very clear offer to the broadcast.
Time code is a freckle past a pile of bullshit.
Standards Authority. If you haven't realised how far you have overstepped the mark, if you haven't read the room and seen the universal condemnation of your attempt at overreach
on me,
then you are incompetent and you need to be disbanded. But I'll make you a peace.
That's my offer. Disband now or else. And not quite.
Offering this morning.
Oh, that's good of you.
You abandon your plans. If you abandon your plans publicly, make an announcement. You will not seek illegally to widen your jurisdiction to include everyone on the internet and people like me and outfits like the platform. Then I won't seek a judicial review and a declaration about your powers. We could save the taxpayer millions of dollars that you will spend in legal fees to be defeated.
And obviously that means, and the platform would be spending as well in legal fees.
So it is up to you, board members of the BSA, to make a decision in the interest of the taxpayers of New Zealand and the people of New Zealand. Pull your heads in.
Very naughty.
And we, the people, will leave you alone.
Yeah, no, it's not we the people. Don't include me in that bullshit. It's not we the people. So when you negotiate with someone, you typically have something behind you that's warranting negotiating with. This is like the guy going into the courtroom and go, prosecutors, if you decide right now to drop all the charges against me, prosecutors, I will walk out of this room and I won't make you look so foolish. It's just like, what are you thinking? What do you think is there? What power do you think you have in the situation? Now, again, massive drama queen, massive ego, massive, just everything beyond the pale. Interesting conversation. Chewy, I'm going to do Mike Hosking shortly, but they're only little short clips as well.
Are you? Do you need to head off early?
Yeah. Get the lube.
We've
you
got
said
the
you started
that. I did.
Nice.
Shall we send this to him? Courtesy of BHN?
Send that to him, and then with one of these BHN enamels with you and me on it on top.
Yeah. Look, I think Detective Rogers raises a good point. Can we also acknowledge that he's doing the dumbest thing right now that anyone can do when subject to potential legal action? He's talking about it constantly.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about it constantly because when I say it's a grift, what I'm saying is he's fundraising off it. That's why he's talking about it constantly.
There's money to be made from suckers.
Let's do this, because everything you've just heard and a whole bunch more is put to bed like boom, 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 boom by Stacey Wood, who is the chief executive of the Broadcasting Standards. And you'll hear in her voice how she's kind of like, we don't know if this is going to work or not, but it's like the EV thing, Joey. At some stage, we're going to have to test this, and someone made a complaint. At some stage, we're going to have to put road user charges on EVs. At some stage, the Broadcasting Standards Authority needs to understand, is the internet part of our jurisdiction? What do we think of broadcasting on the internet? Does it fit? And that's what it comes down to. So Hoskins asks her, why now? Like, because, Sean Plunkett, they're after him. There's a reason they're doing it right now. They're coming after Sean Plunkett because he's controversial and he says hurty things towards government. This is all about the government. Why now?
Good morning.
You're reaching here a bit or not?
Yes and no.
You're reaching here a bit. Maybe. Like, this is the relaxed nature of it.
We are applying the act that we have, but it is the first time that we've done so in this way.
Why now?
Why now? Because we've received a complaint that fits the definition. And
because a complaint came in. That's why now. No nefarious underground trying to take this man apart because he thinks he's so important and such a counterculture revolutionary because there's a complaint.
meets our formal requirements. We can only act when we receive a complaint, and we feel that we're required to in accordance with our act.
There you go. Why now, Chewy? Is it because they're trying to shut down the man? Is it because they want to take this guy apart because he's the truth speaker? It's no, because the complaint came in that fits the criteria. That's the reason. Yep. Do you want to speak to any of it? Because if you don't, I'll keep trucking.
Let's keep trucking through all of your tabs.
So the free speech lady. Oh, can we speak to the merit of it? Like, this doesn't have any merit. And can I be honest with you? It sounds like a bit of a light. I've seen a few complaints in my day when working in radio. It feels like a pretty lightweight one that they're connecting tikanga to mumbo jumbo to racism. It does feel like a pretty lightweight sort of a complaint in the grander scheme of what things do and can happen on broadcasts. However, the BSA has no power over what they investigate. That's part of their legislation. If there's a complaint that meets, they have to do it. No big conspiracy. No, they're using a lightweight complaint to come after me. They have to investigate.
Difficulty with it, if I was advising you, which I'm not obviously, but the difficulty with the complaint you're dealing with is it's in what I would term a fairly, it's an inconsequential complaint. It's some whinger who says, so-and-so said so-and-so. This isn't a die in the ditch type decision that you could stand behind.
Well, we haven't considered the merits of the complaint, and I can't talk about that. But what I would say is the Act doesn't...
So they didn't consider the merits of the complaint. That's not what they do. They go to the Act and...
give us that discretion when accepting a complaint. The authority has the power to uphold, not uphold, or decline to determine. But even in making that decision, it needs to accept for consideration every complaint that meets the very basic formal requirements of the Act. So our hands are sort of tied if we accept that transmission of a program by means of telecommunication includes the internet.
So this is the question. Does transmission of a program from the internet equate to broadcasting that comes under the Broadcasting Standards Act? That's the conversation. That's a really interesting conversation because what do, Chewy? We broadcast to the internet.
We broadcast on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting question. Really interesting question.
Like, for the longest time, the internet's been the Wild West.
Yep.
Because everybody just assumes broadcast is television and radio.
Yep.
And you get some really weird sort of stuff. Like a few years ago, I was thinking of putting together like a music podcast, and I thought, well, I want to be legit, and I want to pay licensing fees and that sort of thing. So I contacted APRA and all of those sort of guys, and like, so how do I pay? Like, if I set up a radio station, I'd have to pay you fees for the music that I play. I want to do that, but like an internet radio station. So how does one do that? And basically got several emails that were just like, well, we don't know, but definitely don't do it.
That's changed.
We don't know.
I know that's changed now because I've got friends who have production companies that make podcasts, and they pay a fee each year to be able to use any bit of music they want. Doesn't breach copyright.
Oh, that's good.
So what I'm saying, what we're saying, and even in this, the laws need to move with the times. The Broadcasting Standards Authority hasn't. And rather than this, but I mean, like maybe there should have been complaints about us. I wouldn't have cared. But maybe they picked the wrong person to do their test case on, but it always had to be someone. And you pick the person that's going to cry and whinge and bitch the most about it because he is a giant snowflake. This next clip, it's an interesting one because she's talking about how we justify the jurisdiction of broadcasting. What does broadcasting mean? And she talks about looking like radio. And this is a part of the conversation, Chewy, that now digs down into what it is. Does it look and sound like radio? Mike Hoskins about to go, what the fuck does that mean? He doesn't say fuck because he's on ZB. But this is a really interesting part of the debate.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the wording of the Act, but yeah, it's applying a pragmatic lens to it. Does it look like radio? Does it sound like radio? Does the person call themselves a broadcaster on their social media?
Yeah, you can't, Stacey. You can't possibly ask. Does it look like radio? Does it sound? What on earth is that?
When you go to when I access radio, for instance, I don't use a radio set. So the way I access RNZ National, for instance, is I go to their website and press a button to listen live.
Well, that's your first mistake, isn't it?
As an example, when I'm listening to the McAnulty and Bishop, I might do the same.
Well done.
But when you go to Sean's website, you do the same thing. Why does Wi-Fi differ from radio waves?
Really interesting. Really interesting point. So one of the differences with us is we don't have a platform. People don't go to our site and watch us. The platform has a specialist built app that people go to and listen. People go to YouTube, they go to Facebook. Even if they go to our own website, it only gets the YouTube carries. They don't go to our site. You want to listen to RNZ, you go to rnz.co.nz, you push play. You want to listen to BHN, you go to youtube.com normally, or facebook.com, or twitter.x. fuck knows. So that might be the difference. That might be. There's a determination. There's a difference. Now, that means if that is the determination, all the platform would need to do to get away from it is get rid of their app and move on to more social and public media, because then it's not their app, which they wouldn't do because they need to survive off the submission. And one last thing here, Chewy, then I'll let, because it's not very quick. Because speaking of that, oh no, this is one more thing. Hang on, I can't remember what I put this in for. Let me play it. I think this is once again the executive kind of making it clear that, it's the Pandora's box. Hoskins goes, you're opening the Pandora's box, eh? And she just goes, yep. So this is not like nefarious. This is not like they're after him. She's aware that if they're going to look at regulating the internet, this is going to be massive.
I mean, my only concern for you is that this is Pandora's box personified, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so she knows. And just coming back to that thing I was about to say about
Mumbo-Dora's box.
Coming back to the idea of they won't go to a public broadcasting system like we do. They'll keep it behind a paywall because they need that to survive. And right at the end of this conversation, Mike Hosking, he decided to put one little oar in on Mr. Plunkett, and he wanted to make it very clear to Mr. Plunkett that financially he is probably struggling more, and maybe he should be focusing on that. This is what Mike Hosking said.
That's the sort of stuff they deal with on an ongoing and regular basis. If I was Sean Plunkett, now that I'm handing out advice all over the place this morning, I'd be more worried about my financial circumstances than I would about some regulatory authority that's really not to bother us.
So there you go. So there you go. There's all this stuff. Really interesting conversation. Is the difference going to be RNZ has its own platform, ZB has its own platform, Radio Wātea has its own platform, the platform has its own platform, BHN doesn't. We weren't on, but we were mentioned on RNZ last night when they were talking about this. Hayden Donnell was talking about what does this mean for groups like, and he said for groups like BHN and for groups like Bomber, what does it mean for them? And maybe one of the big differences is we don't have a platform per se. Our platform is a not publicly owned, but is actually, our platform is actually the marketplace, because everyone can get access to us. There's nothing behind paywalls. Maybe that's a part of it too. Sir, lots of information there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it absolutely makes sense. Like when they were talking about, well, why are you doing this? It's like, because
we have to, at some
because
stage.
we have a complaint, right?
Yeah.
And lots of people forget that, right? Like if an organisation could go, nah, we can ignore this one. We can safely ignore this one. It doesn't seem that important. Then nothing would ever get investigated. And look, I think when you look at how shows that do a similar thing to what we do, what the platform does, what reality check radio does, that sort of thing, it is the fucking Wild West. So something testing, that's what this is, a test.
Yep.
The law and whether it is fit for purpose for how people consume broadcasting is valid. I saw someone mention in the chat, like, how many people watch TVNZ, RNZ, TV3 through an app or through streaming through their TV or something like that.
Yep.
So if it's not broadcast, if it's through the internet, maybe they don't have to worry about age restrictions or something like that. You can get that sort of stuff. So yeah, like they've left it very late, very late to realize that things are on the internet. But there you go. I think Sean's just rattled because he has said several times that he is on rock solid ground because the Broadcasting Standards Act doesn't apply to him.
Yeah.
So he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
He'd be ethically as dubious as he wants, and he seems to enjoy it. So if he's first up to test this case, it is delicious. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think they can. Like, I honestly don't think that the broadcasting standards have the ability to do that, and I think it is the Wild West. You do hear laws in the UK in particular where people are being arrested for things they say and things they tweet. That seems to be one extreme. I just don't... Put it this way. When I say I don't care, it's not that I don't care meaning it could have a detrimental impact. This is not going to affect us. Because if it comes in, like, there's been several occasions, and obviously I'm not going to say what they were, where I have chosen for us not to do something or not to go somewhere with a story because I used to work in a world like Sean Plunkett used to that had an ethical standard. As soon as Sean slipped into this world of the Wild Wild West, he shedded all those. He shedded. They were shed. And you hear things like completely unethical journalistic practices, like door stopping people, which is when he calls people on the phone, puts them straight on air without their knowledge. Completely unethical, would never go on a mainstream radio station. But that's because it doesn't work on a mainstream radio station because it's unethical and it's bad practice. And he is continually... The other thing about it is... there's areas within the BSA about fairness. And I don't know if you've ever heard a Sean Plunkett interview. Pretty much every single one of them, which is being interviewed by someone he disagrees with, probably could have been had up for being unfair. So I think that it doesn't matter. I mean, we're part of the Media Council. The main reason we did that was we get into the lockups and stuff. But I'm not like, I don't care one way or the other if we're a part of the Media Council. I don't care one way or the other if the BSA can regulate what we do, because we run an ethical ship here. And if we did something that warranted an upheld complaint on the BSA, I would want to correct it anyway. Plunkett's concerned, and he said it in a bunch of his things, is he thinks this is a threat to everything they stand for because they will be inundated with woke complaints. Now, what he's saying is, I want to be the biggest arsehole I can and have no repercussions for it. Because it doesn't matter if the BSA is flooded with woke complaints. If there's no ground for those woke complaints to bring on some kind of retribution or some kind of result, then they won't. So he's worried that this is going to blow up his cesspit and he won't be able to play in the dirt anymore with all the pigs. Because playing in the dirt at the moment, although he has mentioned on some of those conversations, I know I ingest too much of it, about what a rough year it's been, what he means is financially. And you know that Mike Hoskins just had a stab there. That's because the industry knows. Me and Chewy have sat in front of people at MediaWorks who told us how much money the platform was losing every month. Now, that was a couple of years ago. So I'm not saying that's the case now. The industry knows. So when Mike Hoskins says that, what that means is the platform are fucked financially at the moment. They may come out of it, they may get through it. I'm just saying it's not good for them, which means any other expense on things like having to stand by an ethical thing, no, it might be the thing that tips them over. And then Sean will be able to get on his knees and die. Is that what he said? Something like that. Rather than die in the dirt, rather than live in the nussy or something. I can't remember what it was.
Do you think when he was having his Independence Day speech, because that's what I'm going to call it, that he was imagining like the New Zealand flag rippling behind him and the music dramatically swells to a crescendo, and then people around the country, around the motu, in cafes,
he won't know what that
bars
is.
And workplaces are going, this is the most stupendously brave man I've ever heard. What are we listening to? And then the person goes, we're listening to the platform because we believe in freedom. What a twat.
Yeah.
What an
Chewy.
Absolute blowhard.
I think those last two sentences wraps up this story perfectly. Twatty McBlowhard. There you go. But it still is a really interesting story. I mean, I actually asked Stacey Wood to come on, obviously. And this is the other thing. He went on and on and on and on about inviting Stacey Wood onto the show. Like, the person who's running the organisation that's investigating a complaint would then go on your broadcast and talk to you about it. Oh, like I'm a breakfast radio host, and I've been charged with drink driving, and I'm going to have the judge come in and talk to me about what? What are you talking about? The arrogance was just outstanding. Yeah. Outstanding.
The only downside, there's one downside I just thought of. Is look, this complaint might not go anywhere. It might not be a great test case, but if it doesn't go anywhere, he is going to be unbearable.
Of course. And that's likely what's going to happen. I mean, I can't imagine how anything will come from it other than this is too much. Internet, too much. We need a staff of 14,000 to do this. I mean, that's one of the things she said. They've got a staff of 8. You know.
Yeah.
And look, this will also have repercussions. People will want to do the version of slap suits, and you'll find there'll probably be complaints put in, about Bomber and about us and about, various people. But it's like, if we do something wrong, if we do something unethical, if we're not fair, then I'd stump up and say, yep, all right, no problems. Anyway, Tiki says, just saw PM Luxon land at Gizzy Airport, stay in the night. Nice. Arvid says, Oliver taking negotiation tips from Luxon. And also, are we sure Oliver doesn't do drag? Fucking diva. It's in the ballot. It says Sean Plunkett will not shut down the platform. He would move his operations overseas or onto a boat in international waters like Radio Hodaki. Well, I said it a long time ago that eventually what will happen to the platform is it will go bankrupt. But then Sean Plunkett will head off and become New Zealand's Alex Jones. Because, if you take all those listeners with you who are financial contributors, and it's a pretty big number, but they have an expensive thing to run. They don't keep their nuts small, so to speak. As New Zealand's Alex Jones running it all yourself and having maybe an editor, pretty comfortable little world you can build yourself. And then he'd be the ultimate rebel fighting back against the man. Kiwi Bear says his mouth writes checks he won't be able to cash. Henry, BHN should try and get a press pass. Been there, done that, Henry. Part of the media council, that's why we did it, so we could get into the lockups with a media pass. Eddie Yuns, he should not be allowed access to the press gallery if he is not beholden to the standards of the BSA, namely fairness and accuracy. That's an interesting point, actually, that if you're not a part of it, you don't want to be a part of it, then you shouldn't also get access to these places. Yeah, interesting. You've done that one, haven't you? Tiffany says, when I saw Winston's post about this bullshit yesterday, it was clear to me these idiots in the legislature and co were being pushed by the BSA to make change. Instead, they get framed as the Stasi. Yeah, and that's another thing that the head of the BSA was saying, Stacey. She was saying, we just want, we actually need the government to regulate this. This is the government's decision to make, not ours. But everyone's dragging their feet, so we'll give it a test case, see what happens. What sanctions can the BSA impose? Fines? They can, apparently. I've never heard of a fine. Like working at ZB, you'd get them all the time. People would complain all the time. I've heard a few that have been sanctioned, like having to do retractions. You can be fined up to $100,000. I'm sure there are some out there. I've never experienced, like in a place I worked, any kind of fine. It's normally you need to, go on the radio and say this and apologise, and it's normally that. Tiffany says, I worked in the public sector. The BSA administrator, they don't decide the legislation. It's up to the House to make pragmatic changes. If I was any sort of politician, I'd have taken the hint, simple as. Yep. And lucky last for now, Lytton 21, a complaint is often sent for a good reason too. Yep, it's often sent for a good reason, but sometimes it is nefarious or whatever. The process goes like this. You have to complain to the broadcaster first. And the person did this. They complained to Plunkett. And then they have to give a chance for the broadcaster to respond. And Plunkett's response was, ha plonker, we're not covered by we're not subject to the BSA. So that was the official response. And the person who complained then went to the BSA and said, here is my official response from them. I'm now complaining. So that's the process. So I don't know how many of them get stopped at the official complaint to the broadcaster side, but that's the first thing. And I think then the first thing the BSA will do is go, was the response from the broadcaster adequate? Yes, this is not coming before us. No, like, for example, calling the person the plonker, then we'll look further into it. Does it now reach the standards of our legislation? That could be a complaint. Yes, okay, so we have to look into it. There's not really a smoking gun here. There just really isn't. Alrighty, mighty. Let's get on to the last conversation for today. There are two very short clips, and there's one that's a bit longer, because we're going to be having a look at the Marine and Coastal Area Amendment Act, which this government is basically shitting all over. Well, they're shitting over the previous with their new legislation. But they had a quick chat about Jim Bolger, and it's very quick. It's only 40 seconds, but I wanted you to hear... oh, we've still got something playing. Where is that? Chewy, there it is there. I can see it. Bump. They were... There we go. Back in. There was just a very quick bit about Jim Bolger. The Bish said I didn't really know him very well. And I wanted to play this bit from Kieran, because Kieran talks about some of the things that Bolger did. And when you hear him say them, you realise, oh, when you talk about today's national, this is not your grandfather's national party. This is not your father's national party.
Yeah, I was really sorry to see this news when I woke up this morning. I've always had a lot of time for Jim Bolger, and obviously our thoughts are with Jane and the family. It's sad news because, of course, he was the reason why we now have treaty settlements, essentially. Mm-hmm. And that is something that other countries look at and think, I wish we could do that for our Indigenous population. It is something that we can be proud of as a country, and Jim needs to be recognised for his role in that.
So compared to what these guys are doing at the moment, Jim Bolger is remembered as a man who helped the Indigenous people of this country get redress, at least seek redress for being wronged and have lands taken off them. And remember, there's always a debate to be had around lands. There are sort of two or maybe three kinds. There's the land that was stolen in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. There was the land that was purchased, but perhaps Māori at the time were taken advantage of, so for an unfair price. And then there was the land, especially around World War II, that the government used as because of defending the country, on the understanding it was going to be returned to Māori, and it never was. And the best example of that's always Raglan Golf Course. It was Māori land that was taken by the government.
Bastion Point.
Bastion
as
Point.
well.
But
There's another one of those.
But that was an agreement between the government and Māori where they said, yeah, sure, I understand national security, yada, yada, yada. And then they just never gave it back. Even if that option 2, which is land that was purchased maybe in an unfair way, even if you remove that and just go the other 2, which were stolen, not returned, there's plenty enough there that a government needs to redress wrongs of the past that governments have done. So that's how I always think about the conversation around lands and redress for lands. And thanks to Jim Bolger, that's happened. Could you imagine anyone saying thanks to David Seymour, or thanks to Winston Peters, or thanks to Christopher Luxon, all these things that this people group have suffered at the hands of a government has now been redressed. I mean, they had the apology for the state care thing, and we find out that people in state care are maybe not getting tortured and electrocuted, but are still being pretty badly abused and physical abuse. I'm talking about pretty badly treated. Like they say, oh, we're sorry about that, and then not the same practices continue on, but some pretty shoddy practices seem to continue. And remember, this government's going to be remembered for their support with and of big tobacco, big oil, and also for squashing everything Māori. That's who this government is. National 2026. Okay, Joey, I'll just play the next bit, then I'll shut up, because this is about the Marine and Coastal Area Amendment Act. This is a good 4 minutes long. Actually, there's a point that I might cut out, like at 3 minutes, but we'll have a look at what they're talking about, because you can see the Bish is very concerned. You can just tell that by his face as you look at it right now. But that's what he's
probably waiting for someone else to come along.
And they're talking about the submission process of Select Committee and how 98% were against what this government was going to do, and this government's going to still do it. And we're just thinking treaty principles all over again, regulatory standards all over again.
Well, it's complicated, but the short story is this. Parliament passed the Marine and Coastal Act in 2015, which is designed to recognise legitimate customary rights and customary title claims in the marine and coastal space. That all followed the foreshore and seabed issues from 2003 and 4, which people will be, I think, will remember, at least the debates over it. And since that time, the Court of Appeal has essentially changed the test that's in the law, in the 2015 law, and expanded it in a way that...
So what they're saying is the courts have decided in a way now that we disagree with. Because we disagree with the courts, we're going to change it to make the courts act in the way that we think they should be. This is literally a government putting its thumb on the scale of justice. This, on some level, is Trumpian, hiring or getting in his supporters to do his will. The courts are saying this, the government doesn't like it, the courts are going to be changed via legislation. They're going to change what they can do. Remember, the courts don't make the legislation, they interpret the legislation. So if they're interpreting the legislation in a way that this government doesn't like, we'll just change the legislation and then they'll have to interpret it a different way. It is actually the opposite of democracy, is what it is.
Certainly the government thinks was not intended by the 2015 legislation. So what Parliament's...
They think. They're saying that they're interpreting 2015 wrong. Government's saying that. The courts are doing it wrong. So we're going to change it so they do it right, i.e. the outcome we want.
Doing at the moment, or through a government bill, is reversing those Court of Appeal decisions and going back to the test that was put in place in 2015 with by the way, a law designed by the National Party and the Maori Party, who were in coalition with us at the time. Very different Maori Party now, obviously, but that was the case at the time.
Kieran, what's the biggest risk if this bill is passed in its current form?
Before he answers, just look at that Chiron down the bottom. 99% of submissions opposed this bill. Now, there is a case to answer that we don't legislate from mob rule, right? There's a case to answer for that. If we had a legislative process, or if we had a select committee, do you want to pay 20% less tax? That might get 99% wanting to support it. That wouldn't be the best decision. So I acknowledge that we don't legislate because of mob rule. But when this government's getting, it seems, every bit of feedback through select committee about every legislation they're trying to change or introduce that harms Māori, being 95% and above in favour of Māori, I would be questioning myself. I don't think it would be valid to then go, we don't rule by mob rule. We don't change laws by mob rule. You're like, well, but this is like everyone's against this. All the academics, all the experts, all the tribunals, all the people who have done this for 20 years as their profession, they're all against it. So what you're saying is every expert in New Zealand, every historian in New Zealand, everyone who knows this like the back of their hand are saying no, and you fellas are saying yes, and that's it. It's pretty scary to think about it like that. All right, we'll keep going.
Well, there's two risks, I think. One is the accumulative effect of other legislation that has come before it under this government that certainly creates the perception, but in many people's eyes, the reality that the treaty is being undermined and the rights that were signed up to in 1840 are being undermined. At the end of the day, the courts do have a role in this country to interpret legislation, and they have done so accordingly. The government has decided to legislate to change that. Many are of the view that that actually moves away from the intent of the legislation and changes things. That is a debatable point, obviously, but many people, including former National Party people, are opposed to this move. And if you look at the other things like the Treaty Principles Bill and the Māori wards, etc., there is a cumulative effect under this government that many people are starting to get quite impacted by in terms of the undermining of the treaty and people's rights that come under that for Māori. So, yeah, there's a lot of concern out there at the moment.
And that cumulative effect, I mean, like we did it earlier, and I'm not saying this is a complete list. Treaty principles, regulatory standards, Māori wards, Māori Health Authority, English First Government departments, road signs, taking away the funding. Like there was I don't remember the way it was worded, but a funding, if you spoke to our Māori and you worked in government, that was like in schools they have it's called a management unit, and you can get another few $1,000s a year to look after a department. Like being fluent in today gave you an opportunity for more funding for your job, more money in government. That's gone. Chewy, you were saying today in schools. I think this is a really, really important word for us to remember that Kieran's just said, which is the cumulative effect of what this government's doing. I'll only play one more bit, Chewy, because Bish has asked about the 99%, and we'll come out after that.
Yeah, 98.7% of the submissions were against it. That included bipartisan groups, but also iwi and lawyers. I mean, I guess I come back to you again, Chris. What's the point of a submissions process if the government says we're going to push it through anyway?
Well, it's to hear from what people think, and it's obviously to improve the law, but it's not a poll. There are lots of submissions to select committees. It's not just a raw numbers game. You've got to do the right thing, and we stand by what we're doing. It goes back to the 2015 law, which was designed to encapsulate the finding of the Court of Appeal back in 2003 in the Ngāti Apa decision around legitimate claims. It's actually partly not related to the treaty. It's actually a customary title common law process by which upon settlement of New Zealand, this is really technical and people probably tuning out, but upon settlement, Maori continue to have their common law rights to property, and the Marine and Coastal Act deals with that in the marine and coastal space and make sure there's a legitimate pathway to recognise those rights as well as recognising other rights in that space.
Yeah. So we'll leave that there for now. I did have one other little piece about Chris Bishop being the next Prime Minister, but Chewy, obviously I've talked all the way through that, but the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, there's so much there, Pat. Jesus, I've got to play catch up. I want to talk about Jim Bolger. Jim Bolger is really interesting because and the usual thing that's happening is you know, the eulogizing of someone that has passed, and that's fair enough and understandable. You know, as mentioned here, he did some good. Like there was it's almost a seismic shift in how the government treated Māori at that point, and that's worthy of note. Also, we have talked about his government of the early 90s with Ruth Richardson as finance minister.
Yep, mother of all.
One of the most vicious, sharp-edged, grinding governments for the poor that we have ever seen. Changed things in this country for the worse, and we are still dealing with the consequences of decisions and attitudes installed with the government that he led. So you can eulogize him. He did good stuff, but he's also responsible for some bad stuff. And then he did that classic thing that we've spoken about that seems to be almost strictly the purview of people from the National Party, is that when they get out of politics, they kind of have a realization.
Yeah.
And his big one was, this neoliberalism thing that we did sounds like a crock of shit and it's bad. And that differs very, very starkly from his former finance minister, Ruth Richardson, which is like, it's great. We should do more. People should be in more pain. I enjoy it.
I have something to add. May I please,
Yes.
sir? Trickle-down economics. You're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Before it was called trickle-down economics, do you know what it was called?
Get the fuck away. Get off my land. I don't know. Ooh, yuck. Poor people.
If you don't know this, and look, that sounds arrogant. I only learned this a few weeks ago. Before it was called trickle-down economics, it was called horse and sparrow economics. Horse and sparrow economics is literally the horse eats the oats and they have enough that some of the oats pass through their body in their shit, and the sparrows get to eat the oats out of the horse's shit, which is not quite as an attractive way of thinking about things as trickle-down economics. However, how fucking accurate is that? You poor people can eat the leftovers out of our shit. Now, obviously, the analogy is the food, but now we'll talk about the finances, the money, the households, the people in the chat saying, thanks, Pat. I'm just telling you what it is. I actually think when I learned this, it's one of these things I went, oh, fuck, I wish I knew this 5 years ago. Because it's a better example for a neo-lib than trickle-down economics. People saying, what leftovers? It's very true. This is the point. This is the point with the horse and sparrow, is the horse has to gorge itself with so many oats that some pass through undigested. So trickle-down economics, the ones at the top have to get so much money, so much income, that it's literally falling out of their pockets for the poor people at the bottom to pick up. This is trickle-down economics. And for Jim Bolger to be like, neoliberalism's not quite the thing. Yeah. I think that horse and sparrow should be used in every left-wing economic debate for the end of time. The neoliberal plan was for the poor to eat the leftovers of the rich's shit. Was for the poor to take the pennies falling out of the pockets of the rich whilst they were stuffing them with $100 bills.
I think the other thing is, because there's been a lot of people that have been reflecting on Jim Bolger's sort of reflections on his time and neoliberalism. there's a danger there going, oh, so he became a good guy at the end. No, he became a complicated guy. They're all complicated. They're neither good nor bad. I did notice the press had an article about that sort of went, is he New Zealand's best Prime Minister? Buried towards the bottom of this article. Yeah, I know. Terrible. Buried towards the bottom of this article, it goes, but he was a gnat to his fingertips on his huge dairy farmer's hands. When I saw him in August, he pronounced with all the certainty that he's generally pronounced any of his thoughts that Jacinda Ardern was the worst Prime Minister the country had had in his lifetime.
Jesus.
So, look, you look at people aren't perfect. They're not always right. He's right about the neoliberalism stuff. He was wrong about his government at the time. I think he's personally woefully wrong on that. Just like, that's an indefensible comment by an old man at the end of his life.
Yeah. I saw him on TV in the last year or so, and I just thought, gosh, age is a horrible thing. What it does to us all. Yikes. Wasn't looking that well.
But yeah, he clearly didn't like John Key.
Yeah.
He clearly doesn't even recognise the National Party as it stands at the moment. And all of these guys in the Nats that are eulogising as well should reflect on that.
Yeah.
Are you recognisable to the person that you're holding up as this former champion of yours? Like, even Bish talking about him was a little bit dismissive, wasn't he? Oh, I didn't know very much about him.
He told a story about Bish was doing a public meeting, and Bolger came along to it, and very quickly it turned into a public meeting of Bolger telling stories about his. It was nice. It was a nice story he told, but he obviously didn't know anything about him at all. And for a lot of people, the 90s. It's so weird, Chewy, that when you're of a certain age, you realize how when you were a kid, yesterday was 30 years ago. Like, I grew up in New Zealand, my kind of formative years in the 90s, and that feels like forever ago that the 90s was back to World War II. That was like 35 years before that. So the equivalent of me growing up in the 90s to World War II was like growing up now that it is to 1990. It's the same time span. And 1990 feels like it was fucking yesterday. But when I was a kid, World War II felt like it was 200 years ago. So, yeah. Anyway. Hey. How are you, team? Hopefully you guys won't freak out too much about that horse and sparrow thing. But I think it's actually a brilliant little factoid to know. And to be able to go, and it's a perfect analogy of trickle-down economics. Because remember, if the horse eats the right amount of food, then it digests it all. And there's nothing. So the horse has to gorge itself on more than it needs. If the person, now trickle down, if the person at the top has, just enough, the right amount of money, then none's falling out of their pockets. But if they stuff into their pocket $100 bills, and they then come to overflowing because they have more than they need, then the poor get to taste a little bit. Only when they've got more than they need, not when they've got enough.
I feel like we've spent 40 minutes on the digestion of horses. Are we pivoting into animal husbandry?
I just think I need to go to the bathroom. That's probably where it came from. Hey, just while you're here, 710 people watching live. 710 people watching live.
Pull out your phones.
If you haven't noticed, there's a QR code up here. We got
the QR code.
We got the bronze listener award 2 years ago. We got the silver listener award last year. We want to get the gold one this year. I don't often talk about this, but the thing that's fun about the listener awards is you can actually somewhat manipulate it, I think. That'll take you to New Zealand nzpodcastawards.com/vote. Vote for us. Go on. I triple dare you. Go and vote for us. And then get a friend to vote for us too. Go put it on your Facebook page to all your friends. Why don't you go? And these are the details you need. Big Hairy News. Great.
Put it in Facebook neighborhood groups.
Well,
let me
just say
discussion.
let me say one other thing, Ro here, who says already done. I'm sure you've got a second email address, Ro. Just saying.
That's not ethical.
Oh,
Do
shit.
it, though.
BSA.
Do it.
BSA complaint.
Go
Pat
ahead.
Brittenden trying to rig the system. Unethical. Yeah, me and those doctors, I'll happily be as unethical as the senior doctors, right? I'll take that title. There's a few starred in there. Should we get to them? Oh, yeah, this is interesting. Chronic Bucky. I'll remember this government for cutting my family's disability care. I met Jim Bolger a couple of times, says AKA Decat. Did close protection for him. Sheesh. Sounds like someone wants a job. Come to Waitangi and like be our security. Did close protection for him once. I've always been left. We disagreed. One of the most decent intellectual men I've ever met. Slante Jim. I'll miss you, sir. I don't know what that word is. I'm not smart enough. Kiwi Bird says, why eat poop when you can eat the rich? Oh, there you go, Chewy. And Kazam Blam says, now I want to open a pub called the Horse and Sparrow. That would be a very good name for a pub, especially if you were doing it because of the reasons we just talked about. And then if you had it like in a wealthy part of town, then you can invite all the rich people there, and then you can literally become the horse. Hey, I just remembered as well, I had one more video to play. I think I'll play it because it's only 30 seconds. Where the fuck is it? Oh, there it is. And this is them talking about the whole thing around, is Bish going to roll Luxoid? This is what they had to say.
Bish, your name came up in a poll around the potential successor to Christopher Luxon. Kieran, does he have leadership potential?
Well, I've said on this show before we would love Chris Bishop to be leader because then we're confident of winning the next election. So I think we should just get on with it.
I'd say the same thing about Kieran. I think we'd be, he should take over. It'd be fantastic. We'd love it.
Always good to have you both on the.
So that was the freshwater clear freshwater poll. Just so people know, I've had some information about this poll as well. They asked, who would you rather have as the leader? It's very small, isn't it? I'm sorry about that. This is like chewy small. That'll do. The national leader was to change before the next election. 1/6 of voters said they would prefer Chris Bishop as leader. The Bish on 16%, Stanford on 12%, Nicola Willis on 11%, Simeon Brown on 8%, Shane Retty on 7%, Mark Mitchell on 5%, someone else on 3%, unsure on 37%. Now, this is from the company Freshwater Strategy, and just so people know, I haven't looked too far into this so far. Coalition pollster Freshwater Strategy working with AstroTurfing Pro Gas Group. Emails obtained by ABC investigation show Freshwater Strategy is trying to gather business sector support for a group called Australians for Natural Gas. Freshwater Strategy has also been hired to run internal polling and focus groups for the coalition during the election campaign. It's Australian coalition. A political communications expert has described the pro-gas group's activities as a textbook example of astroturfing, a public relations strategy in which vested interests set up an artificial grassroots organisation to influence public opinion about an industry or issue. Now, I don't know what that means for Freshwater Strategy, and I don't know what that means for this polling, but I saw that come across my feed today and I thought it was interesting. Apparently, Bish is the man who's going to take over from Luxon. I'm fascinated because Luxon is not. That would be if Luxon doesn't make it to the next election, he will be a lame duck prime minister. To basically win the election and then not make it to the next election, that would be. There's no knighthood in that, mate. Honestly, there's no knighthood in that because you're prime minister for 2 years, and so you think that gives you enough to get a knighthood. That would be such an embarrassment. But he's not resonating with people in the polls at the moment. So yeah, they're a bit stuck.
An unlikable twat.
Hey,
before we sign off, how about we have a little bit of footage from that unlikable twat's visit to Dunedin, which, by all accounts, was an unofficial Dunedin BHN supporters meetup.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that was a bit the same at the on Saturday evening at the Palestinian vigil. Several people. Hey Pat. Oh, Nala. Hi Nala.
So he did the same thing that he did last time he was in town, sneaking the back way. But this time people were more
That's what she said.
ready for it. Wasn't just a chewy old backdoor Luxon here. So this is him departing. Obviously, mission accomplished. Get me the fuck out of Dunedin as soon as possible. Okay, it's just shame.
Now pause it for a sec. Just in practicality, are the police really allowed to push you off the sidewalk? Like,
I believe yes, because you'll be blocking
why?
a vehicle.
But the vehicle's got to stop for pedestrians to cross. So if you had like 100 people walking slowly, surely the police can't put their hands on you and remove you. Like legally.
It would have to be tested. I'm sure they could go, you're impeding the access of a vehicle or some other fucking arcane nonsense, or a conveyance.
I noticed
something.
I noticed we sent a piece of merch to a lawyer's office. What kind of lawyer are you? To a lawyer's office. Maybe we should get in touch. Because look, I that's an interesting perspective. Like, can they actually put their hands on these people? Like,
but
legally.
there were a lot of police there for this. Because this is around the back, there's even more cops around the front. Another wee fun thing about this.
I'm having fun.
I bollocked. Good. I'm glad. Little wee game. This is just a fun photo to scroll through. We got like Sleepy Cop here. He's wishing he was somewhere else. There's 3 cops there. And then
there's 70s porn star.
I'm pretty sure that this guy wouldn't get issued with handcuffs or pepper spray or tasers or any sort of weapon.
Simeon Brown's there as well. Look, there's Simeon.
Yeah. So he gives all of his weapons and equipment to this guy because he needs them, right? But if I was out doing crime, if I was a crimer, right, and I'm going away from the scene of my crime, and this guy popped out and went, "Oi, no!" I would immediately stop doing crime. I'd probably take myself to jail.
Can I ask you,
because of the authority?
Surely that guy behind is down a slope.
This one,
surely,
we cop.
Yeah.
Maybe if I scroll the picture down, it would illustrate that, but I prefer it the way it is. It's just a tiny cop.
It's Simeon's big brother.
It's a wee copper. And this guy thinks it's a great joke that I've been making.
He
knows what we've been talking about.
He's like, look, I've got the wrong hat on. I bought the hat's too small for me. I've got the wrong hat on.
Or he's sitting there going, that wee fella's back there, isn't he? I can't see him, but I know he's there. There's the answer to your question.
It is down. I know.
But see, it's much funnier this way, isn't it? But yes, this should be the passing mark for police college.
Yeah.
Like, yes, swimming,
for the women as well.
Knowing the
women
law,
as well.
Physical fitness. Yeah, don't have gendered standards, Pat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm down.
Police moustache or a note from your doctor.
I'm in. I'm on board.
And enhance. Where is he?
Those are terrible caps they're wearing, eh? They do.
They look like the hats that the primary school kids have to wear on sunny days.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna leave now. Well, I'm gonna leave. Are you coming, or are you gonna stay and watch it? Look at mustachioed masculine men for the next half hour. Is that the after
He
dark
is my computer
show?
wallpaper. So
is he really?
Yeah, probably.
All right, Fano. It's weird because that's me for the week. That's you for the week as well, Chewy. Because I had yesterday off doing stuff, making trouble in that. So we're done for the week. Sounds like we've got... Look, it's going to be a super busy 2 months, Fano. we're doing all the dates and stuff at the moment for when we wrap up for the year and that. Good news today, Chewy, is Gary's coming to the Christmas party. And Johan,
that's going to be a real interesting vibe. Is it like every dish that gets brought out from the kitchen, he's just going to look at us and go, it gets worse. It gets worse.
He in the podcast that comes out tomorrow morning, I caught the end of it because he records them himself. I caught the end of it, and he said something like, "Yeah, we're known well for being the most depressing podcast in New Zealand." Which I thought was quite funny. So yeah, we've got like Chewy and the lady, and we've got Pat and the lady. We've got Jason, who's our technical guy, and the lady. We've got Emily and the man. We've got Magenta, and I don't know if Magenta's bringing anyone or not. And we've got Gary, and I think Gary's bringing someone, and we've asked Craig, and it's going to be huge. And I just realised today, Chewy, I don't know if you've seen this, most of us are going to be in Dunedin on Friday and do like a Friday night. So there's supposed to be a show on Friday night. So I'm wondering, do we do anything with that, or do we just have it off and have some fun? Don't know.
We could do a live.
We could do a live. We could do a live from Woof. Something like that. Okay, team.
We should think on it.
We should sleep and think on it. I think that's what we're going to do. Go away. Come on back. That's us, team. Thank you for being with us this week. Appreciate it. In all seriousness, go and vote for us to rig the podcast awards. Because you know us. We never win anything else. We always get nominated and we never win. That's what we us. It's like we get the participation medals. That's what we get, BHN. Yep. Known for participation medals. And the kids will be with you tomorrow night. I don't know what they're doing. Something crazy, I'm guessing. And we'll be back. Me and Chew will be back next Monday night at 9 o'clock for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Have a good weekend, team. Be safe, everybody. We want to see all of you back here on Monday night. And the messages I'm already getting about the enamels, yep, we'll do something with those next week. BHN.NZ for all our connections. Remember, if you go to BHN.NZ as well, you also can have a look up Friends of BHN. We'll put a bunch of our new friends up there so you can be connected to them as well. That's it for me, Chewy.
Yeah, I'm all tapped out.
Tapped out?
Pour one out for Sean Plunkett, obviously very soon to be sent to jail.
All right, team. Okay, catch you Monday night. Be well, be safe. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.